Good morning. It is Friday, April 21st. It is 11:28 a.m. Central Time. Welcome to All Things Advocacy with AARP North Dakota. Josh Aspig, with me as always is Janelle Mose. Good to see you.
Yeah, you too.
Before we get into this, at some point in time, we're going to do a behind the scenes cut of what happens before we start the All Things Advocacy, because part of the reason we're doing this early is there's a scheduling conflict, and my girls are do competitive dance. As an aside, very proud of them, but I don't think they compete with the dancing we see behind the camera
I don't think so.
ahead of this as part of it. So, Marnie, your turn is coming to take the stage. So, it's Friday. You are getting tired of being at the legislative session.
Yeah, and then it was snowing to this morning too. So it just feels like everything keeps repeating itself, both at the session, but also the weather keeps repeating itself as well. So
Good stuff. Well, it has been, and today will probably be a little bit shorter. Thank you for your flexibility. As I said, we've got some scheduling conflicts, and with the weather, travel plans have changed a little bit, so we had to go a little bit earlier today. Let's just jump into it. There was some great news. It actually technically happened shortly after we got done last week. We actually didn't even fully recognize it until Monday of this week. But good news on the insulin bill front from the governor's
it
office.
happened late Friday afternoon. I got a flurry of emails from a couple of legislators. The governor did sign Senate Bill 2140, which was the insulin cap bill, late Friday afternoon. So that was a huge win.
Very big win.
And I think due in part, he heard from a lot of our members. Almost 150 people emailed the governor encouraging him to sign that bill. So I think that helped really shine a light, saying this is important, you need to sign it, and
Absolutely.
Thankful and grateful that he did Friday afternoon. So.
Absolutely. So that was great news, and more to come on that, and looking forward to seeing that law implemented and talking about how we got to that point as part of it. So excellent. Thank you for anybody who reached out to the governor's office and your legislators. I might add a long journey, but we will have at least some progress. Obviously not the broader progress we want to see, but some progress around helping lower the cost and price of prescription drugs. So all right, second then, that has really kind of been, this has kind of moved to the front burner for us, is the Department of Human Services budget. There are various things within the Human Services budget, too detailed to go into in a short version of All Things Advocacy today, but I know you spent a lot of time tracking the House Appropriations Subcommittee and the House Appropriations Committee and whatnot, so kind of just boil down, where is that? Where are our priorities at in that bill?
Well, first, to remind people what our priorities are, we really look at anything that can help support people stay in their home longer. So we look at economic assistance, housing assistance, heating assistance, anything that helps you with food insecurity. We're also making sure that the department itself has the staff they need. Their numbers of requests for people to stay in their home and not be in a nursing home or assisted living facility, have skyrocketed since COVID, so they really need to make sure that they have the staff and the resources to make sure they can go out and do the things and implement the program. So where we're at right now, the House voted on the Department of Human Services budget last night. It was a late night session, 6:30 last night, that they voted on it. So now it will go back to the Senate. The Senate will look at what the House committee did, and they'll either agree to those amendments that the House put in, or they'll say, no, we want to have a conversation about these. And
so it's going to a conference
committee. It'll go to a conference committee. There are several things that the House Appropriations Committee did that I have a feeling the Senate won't agree to,
right,
including concerns that we have. Again, like I said, the Department of Human Services has a tremendous amount of resources available to them to support people living in their homes. But the House decided to take out a few of those staff positions which will provide a whole, really, you can't do the work without the people. And
right,
so that's where we'll be really honing in on that conference committee to say, we need not only the money to keep people in their homes, but we need the staff to help implement those programs.
Yeah, absolutely. I know we're working on a letter to send to conferees early next week in anticipation of the conference committee kind of reiterating our priorities. We know we've heard from you all. One of the top concerns we always hear from you all is how you can stay safe and independent for as long as you can in your home and whatnot. So more to come on that. The other thing, it's not on our list of today of things to talk about, but it just occurred to me because I know they're probably meeting right now.
Mm.
There's been a lot in the news about kind of the tax package, and that kind of, in my opinion, seems to be kind of one of the hangups as to why we anticipated the legislative session might actually be out next week. I'm not so sure that's the case, given that. So you maybe just want to give folks where the tax debate is. That's House Bill 1158. Yep. Just for a reminder for our viewers and for our purposes, what we're really concerned about in that tax package is an expansion of the homestead property tax credit. We know that that is a very valuable program for older adults and folks trying to stay in their home, and providing the circuit breaker relief to do that. And there's a very needed expansion in that bill, but that's not really the hang up based on what I'm hearing.
It's not, by and large, the House and the Senate wholeheartedly support the homestead property tax credit. So that really is somewhat tucked in and safe in 1158. The problem is the Senate is focused more on property taxes, where the House is more focused on income taxes. And so that's the divide right now. They're trying to figure out, where do we want to, make sure that folks have the resources they need. And so right now they've had a couple of conference committees. They've
12
they've
to be
started
exact.
and stopped, and they're really still far apart. I mean, the priorities are significantly different between the two chambers. Maybe they're going to start to make some progress towards that. Obviously they have to,
right? But
But until the tax discussion gets finalized and settled, some of these other pieces can't fall into place. And so it's hopeful that, they're going to meet tomorrow. So if you're here in Bismarck, you can get in on live action on conference committees. They will be here tomorrow morning working on some things, probably including the tax bill. So.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, we haven't weighed in on either side of the income tax debate or either side really of the property tax debate, except for the homestead property tax credit piece of it. But this is where sometimes your priorities get wrapped into other things. And so we're really hopeful that they will come to some sort of resolution that includes that expansion of the homestead property tax credit as part of it. So didn't mean to take you down a rabbit hole, but just occurred to me. I think that was timely to talk about. So let's talk about next week. Next week is conference committees.
Yeah, all the committees have wrapped up their work, including the House Appropriations Committee, which wrapped up their work just yesterday afternoon. So it's just a nonstop conference committees. They run on a half-hour schedule. So if the conference committee doesn't come to an agreement, they're required to schedule another one. And it usually happens maybe just later in the afternoon or the following day. So it's a constant changing schedule, but they've got to iron out their differences. And then once that happens, then it still has to go back up to the House and the Senate floor where they can review those changes. So there's a lot of process pieces that are happening, but things can happen quickly or they can slow down depending on if they have to go back and make some decisions.
But I think this leads into kind of what we want folks to do next week and be aware of and take action about is this is the part of the session where things happen on a dime. We saw it happen with one of the pension bills we've been following this week about how quickly things shift and then shift back and change. And so really we don't have a specific ask for next week, but we do want you to keep an eye on your email. It is very likely in the next, today's day 69 of 80 days, 80 constitutional days. It's very likely in the next 11 legislative days, something is going to happen where we're going to need your input and action very quickly with legislators. So if you're on our advocacy email list, if you got this email to you today from Janelle saying, hey, this is what's happened, here's what you need to know, you're already on it. You don't need to do that. If you're watching this on YouTube or you saw a clip on social media and you're not getting those action or those advocacy emails, on the screen, arp.org/get-involved is the place you can sign up for our advocacy emails to make sure you're in the know about what work we're doing and we're advocating. So shorter version today. Anything else you want to cover today?
No, just check those emails, check social media, because things could happen as of Monday morning. We might have some other updates and we need you to take action on. So
absolutely. So with that, shorter version today. Thank you for the flexibility in the scheduling. We'll hopefully be back to our regularly scheduled time next week. And with that, this has been another All Things Advocacy.